Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to leverage affordable course materials for your students. This is a panel with three of us representing different areas of the university, supporting different sorts of initiatives. But let's go ahead and get started here. First, I want to talk a little bit about why we're having this discussion today about affordable course materials. First of all, because of high textbook costs, there are a lot of things that students have tried to do to get around the costs of course materials. We did a student survey earlier this year to learn more about what sorts of ways students get around the costs, and some of them are a little bit concerning. First, students will delay purchasing their required course materials until after the start of the semester, which can affect their grades and progress through the course. Students might just try to pass without even purchasing the required course materials, hoping that that will be okay. They might download illegal copies of materials online, or even just drop courses altogether if they need their course materials but cannot afford them. This is a major issue, and as we've learned from our own students, this is something that's affecting them directly. We asked for some qualitative answers as well, and it goes really across the board. Here are some quotes. I'm not going to read them completely out, but our students at Iowa State have said that they pay over $300 for just 2 textbooks. They cannot afford to do this out of pocket when they're paying for college themselves as well. They're having to put off buy their groceries because they're having to go into, hey, I'm working 40 hours a week. I'm buying my textbooks, I'm paying for my tuition and doing all these other things as well. And another concern that came up quite often throughout the survey was students that are told a book is required, they go out of their way to purchase it, and then it's not actually used in their course at all. So these are some of the concerns that our students are sharing with us. And it's one reason why we're supporting affordable course materials at Iowa State in a few different ways. So Heather can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so affordability at Iowa State, the open and affordable education with the university, it's an initiative from Pro. And Abby and I are chairs of that committee, working together on a variety of the course material initiatives in terms of tracking the data and doing the surveys, doing outreach, just like we're doing today, to bring more attention to this really important work that we're doing on campus. You will see that the new Iowa State strategic plan also references our initiative on focusing on affordability within Iowa State. And so, as you can see here on the page, this is just a snip from the actual formal strategic plan. There's some additional funding that's being thrown at the expansion of making sure that we've got affordability in place here at Iowa State, specifically surrounding course materials. Our program by the numbers, do you have, yeah, let's go back a page here. So these are just some stats of the impact of what the work that we are doing in affordability here on campus, but specifically really this past year. Here's some fun facts. So with the course reserves space, 450 classes were served, had course reserves with 11,275 students being impacted by course reserves. And Jill's going to talk to us about that in more detail here in a minute, just to make sure we're all up to speed on everything course reserves here at Iowa State. With the immediate access program, which is managed by the ISU bookstore. This is a digital course material program that I'll talk a little bit more about later as well. We had 105,000 participants. So this does include the duplication of students because it's impacting them with having 2 to 3 affordable immediate access digital materials into their Canvas courses each semester. So we're making impact not just at a singular level anymore. And then our OER program, we've got the mini grant projects. We had 47 mini grant projects over the past 5 years. We've got open access materials having a global impact. So that is significant in the work that we're doing. And we want to share that with everyone here on campus too, to continue to bring forward the different initiatives and how to get started. So I think that's a really good segue. I'm going to pass it over to Jill, and she's going to go through the nuts and bolts of course reserves and how we get started with all of that. And then we'll go through each of the initiatives. I guess one more thing before Jill gets started, we do have, beyond just what we're talking about today with course reserves, immediate access, and OER, we still have traditional course materials available on campus, both print books in the library as well as print books inside the ISU bookstore. So those, I use textbooks, textbook rental, those things are still they're still around and they're still available. So if that is an important piece to the classroom pedagogy, to have those print materials, we can still support that. But we're really talking today about the things that have really moved into modern day with our digital initiatives and our affordability initiatives. So Jill, I'll go ahead and have you get started.
Thanks, Heather. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. So yeah, my name is Jill Vasquez. I'm here with Course Reserves. And for those of you who might not be familiar with us, we are located in Parks Library at the main desk. There's also Course Reserves at Vet and Design, if that makes more sense to you at those locations. To put it simply, what we're doing is we want free access to required materials for students. And, like Heather was saying, most of the time these days, that means digitizing it. But we are still doing, the print and the DVDs and books and those sorts of things. So those didn't go away. Some people have thought that over the years, but that's not the case. If we want to go to the next slide, I'll get into it a little bit more in depth. Thank you. So first of all, how we're making this happen, we are managing the copyright permissions and paying the fees for folks. So you as faculty people don't have to worry about reaching out to publishers, paying those fees, finding out if your department can cover it or not. We handle all of that. We don't then pay, we don't make the departments pay or faculty pay or students pay. So the library covers it all. We also digitize and locate the material for you. So we're saving that prep time. We're making it, scanned or streamed, and we're providing the accessibility accommodations. So captions, transcripts, searchable text, that sort of stuff. We'll also purchase items if you're developing something new or redoing an old course that you've been teaching for a while, and you're like, hey, the library doesn't own this stuff, but I want it on Course Reserves. We will purchase, and that is totally okay. You can just ask for it the same as you ask for anything else on Course Reserves, which is all conveniently located in Canvas. We moved to Canvas a couple of years ago because everybody was saying, hey, we want to be, have all of our stuff together in one spot, which we totally understand. And so that is where we're at now. And if you go to the next page, I'll talk to you a little bit about how to make that happen. First of all, you want to ask yourself two questions. Are you going to create a specific assignment for this material, or are you going to test on it? If yes to either of those, then it's the perfect thing to put on Course Reserves. In your Canvas, you'll find us on the Settings and Navigation tab that you'll want to enable. You can request items anytime. Obviously, the more time we have to get something ready for you, especially if we have to purchase it or if we have to get it through interlibrary loan, that's going to take a little bit longer. The more time you can give us, then the more success we'll have getting it ready for you. And then every semester, you'll want to renew that. If you're copying a blueprint course or something, it doesn't happen automatically. So just remember to get that done every semester. And here we have links for our guide and our email if you have any more questions or if I went through that way too fast for you.
Thanks, Jill. So we'll switch gears here and talk about the Immediate Access Program. This is a collaborative program between the Iowa State University Bookstore, our faculty, and our publishing representatives. So students do receive the digital content in this program. It's automatic access on day one inside Canvas, and the students benefit from the reduced publisher costs compared to the national average, just due to all of it just being embedded into Canvas right off the bat. This is, like I said, this is managed by the Iowa State University Bookstore. If you did not know this, the bookstore is owned and operated by Iowa State University. We are not a third-party company, corporate operation. So we are completely locally owned in the campus environment. We report up to the operations and finance part of the university. But like I said earlier, with the work that we do together in collaboration with CELT, IT, the library, we do a lot of work with the provost office as well in academic programs. So the immediate access program right now, in terms of pricing, for the fall 22, we are seeing a price range of $7.70 to $119, with the overall average price being around the $53 range. And the more expensive items in that range are usually the interactive courseware products. So in the STEM classes like biology and math and things like that, we are seeing some higher prices. Some of the foreign language classes, we're seeing those higher prices because there's integrated software included as well. But there are a lot of courses that are going to the ebook space and not just the different adaptive softwares and things like that. So that's why there's still such a range. Print books are definitely in the $200, approaching the $300 range, new from publisher, when you get into those traditional textbooks. And so this is making a huge difference. You'll see there the savings impact this past year was nearly $2 million. And we've had immediate access here at Iowa State for 10 years now. It kind of started off small, and we've been able to scale that across the campus with nearly 75 to 80% of what's happening in the course material space is now in the immediate access program here at Iowa State. So we call it Go Digital and support student affordability with no access codes, no physical books, just learning. And so you'll see here in the graphic, easy access on day one of class. The students are just logging into Canvas and it's just going to be there. And the disclaimer I'm going to put on that is only if the faculty has set up the Canvas course and set up the material in Canvas. But it's just going to be there. It's very intuitive and straightforward. It's just like Jill said, all in one place. We're looking to centralize the experience for students as well, even if they're using a variety of different items from different publishers, even, different things like course reserves and immediate access and OER. We're trying to get all of this so it can live all in one place so the students don't have to get the runaround. By having access on day one of class, we are seeing greater success. This means no more waiting around for financial aid or waiting for your paycheck or waiting for a bookstore shipment to arrive. So that means no more excuses for not being prepared and no more tough choices between food and textbooks. Like what Abby was showing us earlier from the stats and the feedback from our survey. We do have the digital content piece of this is powered by VitalSource, and the publisher courseware piece to immediate access is still powered by the publisher platforms. And we're also seeing, as part of the success model, new tools are coming out all the time. So we're piloting right now a program called Coach Me, and Coach Me has artificial intelligence tools embedded into the ebook itself, and it's putting thoughtful questions into the margins. The students can read the material, do the study questions, it's the whole learn by doing concept. And so we're really working with those partners and the publishers and the content providers to make sure that students have valuable learning outcomes and they're successful, and we're retaining those students in the classes and they're actually learning. So there are some really cool technology things coming out of our partners in this space that we want to make sure that faculty are aware of, that these are things that you can that can help in the classroom. I had a student employee who told me, I love Control F, the Control F, the shortcut for using the find feature. And you can just search, be more engaged in the material instead of just that surface level reading that you can't use with a print book. And so there's a lot of value add coming from the power of the technology, and it's not just like a PDF. So there is kind of the age-old argument of, well, my students want print, or students learn better with print, and there are a lot of studies out there. And it really is what I feel like it comes down to each individual preference. The consumer behaviors that we're seeing at Iowa State is when presented the choice, the students are choosing price. They are not choosing by format. So it is important that we're all open-minded about the different formats, and we can use best judgment on what is best for the pedagogy of the classroom and how we're choosing the material. So if the fact that it's a 100% digital program is concerning, please don't let that concern you. Let's have a conversation about that, and we can work through that. We work very closely with CELT as well and the instructional designers. In terms of the support from the immediate access program and the team. We do assist with pricing negotiation with the publisher and content providers. It's kind of like buying a car. Once that publisher knows that you are committed as the decision maker, we lose the negotiation power. So leveraging that adoption decision, let's challenge them to bring their best pricing forward before you actually tell them you're committing to your adoption, has really proven successful. We did it with English 150, 250. We just did it with math 165, 166, 265, our calculus classes, marketing 340. We've got some big classes, and it doesn't matter how big or small your class is. It doesn't, just because you have more students doesn't mean you can get better pricing. We're leveraging Iowa State University as the expectations with the publishers and the pricing. So please get us involved if it's something you're not comfortable with. That's something we can assist with, but we're just encouraging you just to don't show the publisher all your cards and don't make those quick decisions. We do, like I said, we have robust technology powering this program with Vital Source Bookshelf. That's the ebook part of the program. And then the courseware, like I said, is still hosted by the publishers. And then resources for faculty and students. We do tons of one-to-one support for both faculty and students. So we make sure that there's syllabus language provided, that there's faculty training, and then of course, any students who are having any technical issues whatsoever, we support all of that as well. Our Vital Source team is super involved, and our publisher partners are super involved as well to make sure that there's success. And so to get started, first things first, review your existing materials let's see if there's already an IA match, immediate access match, meaning that it's digital, that we can get pricing established and we can get that embedded into Canvas. Does not mean you have to change your adoption. You can continue to use the same materials. If you're not ready to completely redesign your course or change up your syllabus, we can help you with that. You do have to submit your adoption. And you have to technically enroll into this program because of the behind the scenes setup. And we do need to do that each term. So I have the deadlines here on the screen. They're pretty static from year to year. So for spring, December 1, around the 1st of December, we need to kind of know your commitment as far as what you're doing. And then we are still offering winter session this year. So November 15th would be the winter session deadline. And then of course, we've got a little ways before we need to talk about next academic year. We do have a really great relationship with CELT, and we have full instructions, detailed instructions on how to do the Canvas setup, and we can provide support on that as well. And then the accounts receivable office here at the university will bill the enrolled students to their U-bill for that pricing at the time tuition and fees are assessed. So that's another reason why we have deadlines, is we have to get the student fees assessed in a timely manner so the students can plan and budget for that as well. And then we do, students can voluntarily opt out and receive a refund. So nobody is mandated to have this unless the faculty is mandating material from a grading component. So it would be important to speak about that in the classroom of, this is an immediate access material, there will be a grading component, you do not want to opt out. But there are times where maybe there is a little bit of still, choice and things like that. So we are legally obligated from the Higher Education Opportunity Act to provide that opt-out. So that is all located in Canvas as well. It's just a simple button if they want to opt out, and they do have those first 10 days of class to do that. We do have our website, isubookstore.com. We have an immediate access page. I put the link at the bottom of the page there. Tons of FAQ and just a really good resource page. I know there's members of my team on the call today, and you can reach out to any one of us to get started with any questions that you have. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Abby to talk about our OER initiative.
Thank you, Heather. And yeah, I think I posted the major links to all of our resources in the chat, but if you missed that, I can always copy it and paste it again. So to move on, I'm going to talk a little bit about Open Educational Resources at Iowa State. Open Educational Resources, or OER, I'll use that acronym because I'm not going to say that long thing every time, are free, openly licensed educational materials. So this can be any sort of material, textbooks, lab books, videos, lecture notes, and more that are used through the course of teaching that are both free to access online and openly licensed, so it can be reused, remixed, and adapted for teaching in your class. It doesn't mean that they're only online. You can print OER materials at cost, and some publishers like OpenStax allow you to order print materials for anywhere from $12 to $50 if you really want the hardcover. But most of the time, your OER materials are going to be things you're accessing online. Now, OER come in also a lot of different shapes and sizes, as well as being, videos or books. There are different levels of ways that they're produced. So in some cases, you might find materials that are textbooks produced by an instructor through lecture notes to be released in their courses. And in other cases, you'll find things that are professionally produced through a press like our own digital press here, or through publishers like OpenStax. One thing I'd like to note for this year, which is exciting news for us, John McMurray's organic chemistry textbook, its 10th edition, is going to be published by OpenStax. So it'll be completely free to access instead of being published through Cengage as it has been for the last 40 years. So big win for us there. Moving on forward though. What sort of support can you expect to get for OER work at ISU? Well, a lot of our work is done through me here at the library, as well as other members of our team. We can provide support locating and evaluating materials. So if you think, I'm kind of interested in seeing what free materials are available, but I don't know where to start, you can send in a request for a consultation, give me a copy of your syllabus, and we'll match materials to every week's modules to see if there's enough material to fully support your course, or if you might want to adapt it as well as course reserves materials, additional articles, or other things you might get through a course packet through the bookstore. If you want to publish or produce new materials or adapt things for your course, you can get funding for that work through the Miller Mini Grant Program, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. 47 projects published and supported to date, with some more going on this fall. I think we just got an Inside Iowa State piece about that last week. If you have something in Pressbooks, we have an example here. A guide to MATLAB for ME 160 was just published on Pressbooks this summer, and that is our publishing platform. Then there is an LTI for Canvas integration there as well. So just like with course reserves, just like with the immediate access program, you can put your materials directly into your Canvas course, and it'll be seamless in your modules page. And finally, there are resources to support people adapting and publishing new materials if that's something you want to do instead of just finding things that already exist to adopt as is. So if you do want to get started reaching out about potential free materials for your course, I would recommend first looking yourself, see if there are any existing materials that might fit, reaching out to our team if there's other things you want to find, and then figuring out if there's something you'd like to adapt for your own needs. If you want to adapt materials, you are legally allowed to do that. That's the cool thing about things being open. And if you need help with that, we can help you there as well through the Iowa State University Digital Press, either through publishing a new version of the material or by publishing something completely new. We've got additional materials on our OER library guide if you have questions about what already exists and what's out there, or what support you can get on campus. And I'll have a final note here that if you are adopting OER materials that already exist, let the bookstore know, because when you're using these materials in your textbooks, we like to have that data so we can say, oh, it's so cool, 50 classes are using OER this year. Having that data really helps us to move forward and say what sort of growth we're seeing on campus. And finally, I sort of want to jump back to something I said earlier, and also something that we mentioned at the very beginning when Heather was talking about the different affordability options for your course. You do not have to do a one or the other sort of decision making for this. You can use course packets and ebooks. You can use OER with the immediate access program. You can use course reserves and combine it with different OER videos or lecture notes. You have a lot of options and you can mix and match them to your needs. We found that a lot of instructors are saving students money just by making their own materials and sharing it out with them. And that's awesome. So if there's something cool that you're doing to make your courses more affordable, we'd like to learn about that. And we also want to make sure that you know that there are a lot of different opportunities you can choose from as well.